Okay, admission time. I was wrong. In this video here called We Need to Talk About Boxing League, I talked about Wizards of the Coast announcing this new sanctioned boxing league at their local store level. The vast majority of that video still rings true. I still like the format. I'm glad that Wizards of the Coast are supporting it, people that want to play it. I think giving people a way to play with a box of cards that they're planning to open anyway is a good thing. My main criticism was this removal of the 100 card singleton rule and color identity necessity and all these sort of bits to facilitate an easier deck build. I thought it was unnecessary. Fast forward to this moment in time now. Wizards of the Coast are sponsoring this video, which I know makes it sound dubious that I'm admitting I'm wrong, but I'll explain. This is a box of cards that I've opened that I'm just going to show you in a moment what I'm building. I'll show you the whole process of opening the entire box, actually. The rare collation stuff is quite interesting. I said when I first started recording this a few days ago, well, we'll jump back to old me. In today's video, I'm doing that thing that some of you are very angry about. I'm going to build an entire commander deck from this booster box. Look, I've always liked the premise. I've done it in the past. Outdoor Adrian, one of my favorite commander decks of all time, came from this. I'm going to open this box and build a one commander deck from the whole thing. I will actually be doing the rules different to what Wizards of the Coast is suggesting for their box league. I'm going to do the traditional boxing league. Still singleton and color rules apply for my commander. And that, dear reader, is where it's gone slightly awry. With only 30 packs, no 3-color legends and very few mono-color legends, I actually struggled to get enough playable cards without playing cards that were genuinely awful, and even then I was teetering on the edge. I struggled to get enough playable cards for 100 cards singleton, which to be clear is not the recommended way to play this by Wizards, but I thought I knew better. Again, this is a sponsored video. It's part of Wizards of the Coast marketing budget to put this video out, but they did approach me and say, what would you like to do? And I said I wanted to build a commander deck out of a box of magic cards to prove that it's a fun exercise. And then like I've just shown you my previous thing, I plan to be a bit cheeky and ignore their recommended thing, ignore the rules that they put in place for their boxing league or their box league. I want to go back to the old school rules that I knew from Brian David Marshall and Sheldon Menery, the ones that I'd followed during COVID, the ones that I've played with before. Abdul Adrian that I played up and shuffled up and play, he originally started life as a boxing league deck. It is why it still plays Nautiloid Ship and Saravox Tomb, two cards that a lot of people just sleep on and don't think are any good, because I A, got to play them out of my box originally and really enjoyed playing with them, but B, it also opened my eyes to those cards because I wouldn't have picked them out usually. That's why I think Box League is so interesting, for exploring space that you wouldn't normally. But my cheekiness has come with a issue. I haven't got enough stuff to build a 100 card singleton deck. First and foremost, an issue that we're going to see here is that, for example, with Edge of Eternity, there are only 23 cards that are legendary, and some of them are lands and can't be your commander, like the Eternity Elevator. Meanwhile, if we were doing this with Final Fantasy, there's 115 cards with legendary on the card, with only a handful not being playable, like Balam Garden. So already the pool of possible commanders is larger for previous sets. And to be fair, this is actually a response to like sort of feedback. Wizards of the Coast have been criticized in the past for printing too many damn legendaries, and now we're getting less legendaries. It does make this specific weird format where we have a commander deck out of one booster box slightly harder. So as we're going to see here, I only opened 12 legendary creatures, some of which are in 2 colors, but actually not many monocolored ones. There's a thing in Limited where you can take one monocolored legendary, that's not even legendary, so actually I think I've got 11, and you can play it with another monocolored legendary, but as you can see there just aren't many monocolored legendaries in the set. I'm actually looking at Scryfall, and maybe Scryfall's not complete yet, but is there no mono green legendary right now? And this is a good thing. Not every single creature in the game should be legendary, it should matter. So I like to see them peeling back on it here with Edges of Eternity. So it does limit me on what I can do. I've of course opened a 5-color one, but I think going 5-color commander is a cop-out. But that's not really the issue. The issue is having enough playables within Singleton. I just don't have enough to get to 100 cards. I am playing like absolute, like genuine, not very good cards to get there. I'm going to show you my unboxing it, my talking through it right now, and then I'll talk about the deck build at the end. But ultimately, the conclusion I've come to after talking to quite a few people about this, in terms of like how I think the box build should work if we couldn't get enough playables, is I don't want to break the Singleton rule. I think the Singleton rule and the color identity are so important for Commander that I'm going to keep those. I am going to build a 60-card deck, which is a shame because what I want to do is take this to my local store and play it against precons or even bracket 1 decks to have a bracket 1 deck, a bracket that I've joked in the past doesn't really exist. I thought this could be my bracket 1 deck, but I will have to have a rule 0 conversation with people saying, are you allowing me to play my Singleton color identity deck that's 60 cards, but it's built from 1 booster box and that's why it's 60 cards. I think most people will be pretty chill about that considering I'm playing like, you know, draft cards and such. But again, you wouldn't have that issue if you're playing your actual box league at your store, but it's an interesting point for me where I want to build a bracket 1 deck that I could play outside of the boxing league. With that out of the way, let's jump into opening some packs. Before we do that, here's that sponsored message. This is the Edge of Eternity pre-release kit, which you can get by playing an Edge of Eternities pre-release event. It's the first possible instance in time that you can play with these cards at your local game store. Follow the link to the store located in the description below to find your local store that is holding a pre-release so you can play next weekend. I, for example, are heading down to Southampton. I'm going to Dice and Dumplings to play there at their new store. If you're local to Southampton or in the south, look for their... They're not part of the sponsored bit, by the way, but I'm just saying, I'll be there. So if you're there, that's cool. Anyway, let's open some packs. We're going to do a speed up run through me opening up the packs from these boxes and just a little bit of sorting and talking. I'll pause periodically to allow past me to talk about some thoughts as we went. My first rare is a powerful dragon, but it's not that good in Commander, I would say. So my first plan with all of this is to grab out all of my rares and then do some color sorting. That's the plan. So I'm going to grab all my rares, find my legendaries, which also can be in the uncommon slot as well, and then go through and find a commander that I like the feel of and just check if I can actually build it into those colors. We could do like an assessment of all of our colors and what colors we want to play and then see what legendaries we've got. But ultimately, there's a time element here too, right? Like, I don't want to spend a whole day building this. I want to do it in a couple of hours, right? Weft walking in the mythic slot. A Celestial Colonnade in foil. That's pretty cool from the pack. Sweet. One of the exciting things about the commander decks in this set, I guess, box league, is that there's this whole like rare land slot where we get lots of like cool and interesting effects. In this case, got Celestial Colonnade, which is not only like color fixing, but also has the utility of being able to beat people up in the face. So I think it's quite an interesting set to build from because there's quite a high chance of you hitting some interesting rares. Opened 2 Nova Hellkites so far. I'm only going to be playing as a one-offs because of, like I said, I'm using the traditional boxing league rules, but it's just not a very exciting commander card, sadly. That's the interesting part about this, is right, some of these cards are very fun, very interesting. This card's incredible. Biotech Specialist is probably making me lean towards that kind of color combo now, but if I can find the right commander for it. Going in, I was very keen to build Red-Green Landfall, but as you'll see, doesn't quite work out. Oh, not middle of the pack, but it felt like middle of the pack. There's a Watery Grave there and a Possibility Technician. That's pretty neat. Watery Grave, a Shockland back in this set, which is pretty hype and pretty nostalgic. I've hit 2 Esteli Reclaimers. Cool. It's cool to get duplicates for playing, I don't know, Standard perhaps, Pioneer. I can see myself playing a deck with those cards, and then I do like Recursion in white, but it's not great for my Boxing League deck, is it? Cosmogrand Zenith. Let's go. This card's pretty neat. Foil Forest too. Ancient Tomb. Oh, we're gonna have a game changer in our what I thought was gonna be a bracket 1 Boxing League deck. Okay. I love the irony of being like, yeah, my deck's made from a pile of boosters, so it's not very good, but then like turn 2ing an Ancient Tomb and people at the table like giving you the side eye and look at you suspiciously. Mystifying Maze. That's like the fixed Maze of Ith, right? Yeah, it is. It's hard seeing it in a different frame and different art to try and figure out what you know it as. Requiem Monolith, which is a card that I really like for Commander. Really, really like for Commander. It allows you to have a player, you or an opponent, draw cards for the damage a creature takes, and they can also take 1 damage as part of the activation to draw 1 card. I like it. We got a foil Requiem Monolith, doubles, sure. And we got a Sunset Saboteur, Menace, Ward, discard a card whenever this creature attacks, on target creature and opponent controls. It's a very cool political tool in a game of Commander. I won't lie, my rare slot is, surprisingly, for a set of Magic the Gathering cards, lacking legendaries. That's not something you'd expect in the contemporary landscape of Magic, but it might be where we're heading a little bit as they pull back and have less bloody legendaries in sets, which means I might have to take advantage of the limited Commander rules of playing 2 mono-colored legendaries to get the colors that I want. Infinite Guideline Station as my 5-color good stuff commander if I really want to go down that direction. I probably don't, but I could. There's also a Halia Ascendant Cadet, the green-white Halia. This set's got something unique about it, by the way, is that you've got characters like Halia. We're seeing 2 different versions of her in the same set, which we saw in Lord of the Rings, and we saw it in Final Fantasy, but we haven't seen it in a mainline Magic set before. But here it is. It's characters at different points in their lives. We got a lot of white legendary, white rares in our pool. White, black, and red being the deepest for that. Although I'm really leaning towards wanting to play like green, red one if I can make treasures and clues, but I probably can't in the Boxing League deck. We got a white-black legendary creature with Seer Vondam, the Sunstar Exemplar, Vigilant Menace 2/2. Whenever another creature you control dies, always put into exile, put a +1 encounter on her, and you gain 1 life. When she dies, always put into exile, while its power is 4 greater, disrupt to 1 target non-land permanent. Quite a cool effect, very good limited card. Doesn't feel like a commander card. But it does feel like a commander card since that is not your commander. I don't think you want to be recasting her and trying to get value out of that because it would take a lot to get her there, especially in Boxing League. Look, another white rare. What is going on with this box? We hit Endless Sands, which is exile target creature you control. 4, sack it, put all creatures exiled with it back into play. And we got a Sunstar Chaplain, which is quite a good white creature. Big fan of this. You can tap down stuff and get combat done, which in Boxing League you might need to do, because you need to win through combat a lot of time with bracket 1 decks and Boxing League decks. We hit another Watery Grave. That's 2 Watery Graves in this box, but only 2 shotguns total. Weapon munitions, manufacturing, sorry, very big fan of that. If we have sack outlets for artifacts, this card rules. Big fan of it, big fan of it. Godless Shrine, that's our 3rd shotland, and a Famished World Sire. That is a big bomb mythic that I'm quite a fan of. Devouring Lands is scary though, right? But you'll hit more lands, I'm sure you will. We've got Emissary Escort, which is the buy box promo artifact payoff body. Sure. Another weapons manufacturing and a sexy foil planes. Big fan of that. We've got the Pinnacle Emissary there, which is the... Oh, we've got a non-full art land. I don't know if you can get those in the packs. I haven't noticed them up to this point. I actually love some of the art in the non-full arts. I think they're gorgeous. I love... I don't know, the planetary look is just... It's for me. It's my vibe. This is the 3-mana make 1/1s that fly, can't be blocked by creatures without flying. I know there's warps, you can play it earlier too. Whenever you cast artifact spells, like Iconoclast basically. Might be cube playable. Probably not as good as Iconoclast though, because 1 mana more. The warp may not make it relevant enough. And a Starwinder, which is like a powered up curiosity effect. Okay. So interesting, in that entire box, I opened exactly 2 green mythics and not a single green rare. I opened 5 black rares. I opened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 white rares. I opened 4 blue rares. I opened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red rares. If we include multicolored spells, we do end up going up to a whole 4 green rares, one of which is 5 color. Interesting distribution there, really interesting. What I'm going to do now is sort through and figure out what commander options I've got. Again, we can partner 2 mono-colored legendaries to give us a color combination as an option under the normal, limited commander rules that are implemented for like Commander Masters and similar. So in essence, I've opened like no legendaries in mono colors. They just don't seem to exist in this set. Or if they do, they're only in the rare slot, and thus you're quite unlikely to open them in your box league. So essentially, my only like legendaries are the ones in the colorless slots. I got the black, white, blue, red. This is, and this is. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options there. And then in the rares, I got another 2. And I got a mono black legendary in my rares, which I was hoping to tie up with a uncommon white one to make a white black deck, because the effect is very good. So basically, what I'm doing now is I'm looking to see if either of these commanders can hold a reasonably good black, white, go wide sort of deck. And if not, I might be all in on using my green, like common pool as the base color to make a 5 color terrible monstrosity to play this, so I can play all the best cards open in my box. That's kind of a signpost or a sign, like a don't be a coward kind of bit, right? So I finally got my list together after perusing it, stewing on it for a little bit, figuring out what I'm playing. And miraculously, I've got a lot of rares here, right? My commander's rare, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 rares in my 60 card deck is pretty impressive. That is my box, but that's a good hit rate for the colors, right? And that did kind of inform the direction I wanted to go. This isn't like the most exciting commander that I wanted to build, which is Sir Vondam Sunstar Exemplar, a 2-mana 2/2 Vigilant Menace. When another creature you control dies, always put into exile, put a +1 counter on her, so she gets bigger and bigger. And when she dies, always put into exile if her power's 4 or greater, blow something up. But when I had all these interesting rares to play with, including duplicates, I've actually got like 2 copies of the Angel, 2 copies of the Mini Wrath and such. And I even got the on-color land with Godless Shrine. My deck actually has an Ancient Tomb in it, which means I got a Game Changer. Fascinatingly, there's this like conventional logic of like, Ancient Tomb doesn't help me cast my commander. Other people say that sort of stuff. That's kind of bollocks. It does. If she dies, this pays the command attacks. Also, it helps me cast everything else in my deck. So we've got Mystifying Maze and then the Sands as well, Flickering Thing and Anti-Combat Tech in our lands, and then we'll have some number of basics. We're going to grab them in a moment. And then, what we want to do with our commander, I've gone through and picked out all the... I make 3 piles. I make, like, good, gonna play, maybe play, and, like, not playable. And I sorted all the colours in that way. But then... what I was finding that when I piled the cards in such a way was that to be able to build a 100-card deck, I was going to have to play like several, like a dozen cards from the I don't want to play these cards pile. And the thing is, it's not like there's loads of cards that are bad in contemporary like Magic design. There's plenty of stuff that's good. It's that these things, as in like traditionally with like sealed product, when you open it for like a sealed pool or a draft, there will be cards that were just stone cold bad, and you take them to be like your 23rd card in your 40-card limited deck. But in the case of contemporary Magic, most cards serve some sort of role. It's very rare that a card is actually a trap. So what I ended up doing was trying to figure out what cards are going to be good in multiplayer. I don't want like one-time effects of making 1/1/1, although because this doesn't have warp, for example, this creature here that makes a 1/1. Meanwhile, one of our commons that or uncommons does make a 1/1 when I warp it. I'm going to play it later, so that's just a bit better value. The warp also triggering our commander. The rare that I'm not playing is the Lightstall Inquisitor, the 1-mana 2/1 vigilant creature, which when it ETBs each opponent exiles a card from their hand, so it is disruptive to multiple players. But truth be told, a 2/1 with vigilance that does nothing once it's in play is just not the kind of card you want to play on a commander board. Meanwhile, all the other cards here are pretty damn good. We have the Anthem spaceship here. We have a hard light container, which is we have to put it on one of our artifacts. We have a few of the spaceships and tokens that we create, but it's basically an O-ring. Then we have the Angelic Reclaimer, which is the return target X creature, non-creature. Then we have Angelic Reclaimer, which is when this creature enters, return target non-creature, non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast this. We'll warp it for 3 or play it for 5, so X equals 3 or X equals 5. The Cosmo Grand Zenith allows us to double spell and get value. Our deck won't do that much because we don't draw enough cards, but it's still a reasonable 2/4 body that gives us some value. Sunstar Chaplain puts counters on things, at least 2 things I think it is. Oh no, it's put a +1 counter on target creature control if I have 2 things tapped. That's fine, it also taps things down. Again, it's not that exciting for Commander usually, but in the bracket 1 situation where combat is really important, it will be. Pinnacle Starcage, I almost cut this. It exiles all artifacts and creatures with mana value 2 or less. And in Boxing League, people aren't going to have Soul Rings and Arcane Signets. Meanwhile, if you play in a bracket 1 or into a pre-con environment, which I want to play this in, it will get their mana rocks. It also hits tokens, importantly, is the main thing. And then you can sack it to get a little bit of value later. I've got the Wrath, which is just absolutely huge to have in like such a low-powered deck. Exile all creatures to spacecraft. Integral Battle Cruiser is the 4-mana 3/10 when you station it up to 8. But basically, when you station it 1, it's whenever an opponent discards a card, they lose 3 life. Once it's powered up, it makes people discard cards. So it's something I can tap my creatures into in a board stall. We got the 4/1 for 2 Menace Ward discard a card. When this creature attacks, put a +1 counter on target creature an opponent controls. Very diplomatic sort of like politics tool in any game of Commander, high powered or even this. Being able to like say, look, I'll put the counter over there if you don't attack me next turn and get an agreement going. People shouldn't make those agreements with you, but you probably can get them out of them. The Requiem Monolith, I mentioned this when opening it. You can help people to draw cards. You can draw cards off of it. It's probably one of our best card draw engines. Zuift, the Osteoharmonist, turn out creature card from our graveyard, enter the battlefield as a sorcery speed, loses all abilities. Basically allows us to get bodies back, and we do want to sack bodies in our deck. And then we've got Death Touch lifelinking 4/4, that when it attacks or enters, it goes +1/+0 Death Touch to our entire team, which is pretty good for like just swinging through people's boards and such. So that's like our gold and rares. And then I'm not going to fit every card in the deck, but the general theme is that I wanted to kill their stuff, so we've got loads of like single target removal. This kills a thing and lets them draw 2 cards, so very political. I think it's actually reasonably playable even to like the tier 2 and 3 decks, bracket 2 and 3 decks. Reanimation effects, we've got 2 or 3 of those because then we can recur things with sacking. We actually only have like 2 or 3 sack outlets, but we did open the 2-mana black creature that sacks and scries, this guy. Umbral Collar Zealot. Something of my favorite art in the set for like just aura farming. But he's a 2-mana 3/2. Sacrifice another creature or artifact to fail 1. That's a sack outlet. We've got a creature that cares about things getting stacked and growing. So, you know, a combo, if you will. Also, any of these cares about sacrificing stuff is good when you make landers, because the landers will sack as well. This is a pre-release tip, not just a box league tip. And then we've got things that make bodies, bounce our creatures back to our hand, or opponents back to our hand, so we can then reset their ETBs. So we can like use Exosuit Savior to like reset, what's a good example of this? Oh, Astelli Reclaimer. We can even reclaim the Savior back, trigger, put this back in our hand, and then like warp it in or play it again. I love reusing ETBs. Another reuse ETBs is All Fate's Stalker. A 3-mana 2/3 that exiles target, sorry, 4-mana 2/3 that exiles an assassin until it leaves. It's an Oblivion Ring Fiend Hunter style effect, but it's not that the opponent controls, and it's got 2-mana warp ability, so you can warp it in and then flicker, essentially, put the Astelli Reclaimer under it, and then when it leaves, it comes back, so I can reset ETBs again. So I'm just looking to generate value, like this Rescue Skiff here that returns a creature from the graveyard to the battlefield, creature or enchantment, actually. So I'm just looking to get as much value as possible, whilst also playing tons of removal spells. That is basically the gist of the deck. I wish we had more sack outlets, but like when you're building a box league deck, you can't have your cake and eat it usually. I think the deck seems actually quite fun, and I am looking forward to playing with it. I'll get this sleeved up, and hopefully I'll have it with me at pre-release on the weekend as well. I'm just gonna go find some basic lands somewhere in my office. But that was my box build. Like, my other options were interesting, I guess. I feel like a box build with Infinite Guideline Station would have just been a cop-out. I'd be just playing all my best stuff. And most people opening a box aren't gonna open the station either. So I thought that was kind of not good. Another support for red-blue. Halia, this one here, when it enters or attacks, put a +1 count on target creature you control. Whenever one or more creatures you control, with +1 count on it deals combat damage to player, draw a card. We'll draw a load of cards. My green just wasn't very deep either. Not only from the rare perspective, but just generally, I thought. And that's the reason that I also just couldn't go down this route. I wanted to play Tanic as well. This is probably one of my favorite commanders from the set. Whenever a land enters under your control, deal 1 damage to each opponent. Second time this happens, each turn, draw a card. And we also have Biotech Specialist to go with it, which is not legendary, but it's the whenever this creature enters, create a lander token. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, this creature deals 2 damage to target opponent. Absolutely love this card, which didn't have the support for it. Not in our deck, not in this box, shall we say, but I'll be playing this in Commander somewhere. I want to fire off treasures and clues and food and landers and munitions that I make off the munitions card, and just kill people with that. It'll be sick. That might be the beginning of a new build for a new green-red burn deck that maybe I'll talk about on the channel later. Let me know what you think of this video. I really like building within these restrictions. I really like trying to mine the depths of like a limited pool to build something. And that's why I chose this as the video that when Wizards was like, what do you want to do? I was like, let's do a box build. I've been Vince, also PleasantKenobi on the internet. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.